Hi my loves, it's Sandal from Substance Over Style. How are you all? I've missed you. Okay, let's get some oud on the go, Moroccan oud. My mum brought these from the Indian shop and they smell so damn good. So let's go for this. So yeah, it's been a minute. I have had a lovely break over Christmas and New Year. I hope you all had a lovely break. Happy New Year, everyone. So yeah, I'm sure some of you have noticed that I've been a lot less active on social media. Not just over the Christmas break, but even like the month or so before that. I've just kind of been pulling my energy away from all of it and just really grounding into, you know, the true organic matrix, the womb of Mother Earth, connecting with, just realizing, you know, because I've been thinking a lot, and I spoke about this on Instagram very recently on one of my most recent posts, just thinking a lot about the metaverse and how, you know, the control grid is the internet. So, you know, the more you know, we're really, and I'd said as well on that post, you know, when I think it was Elon Musk was being interviewed by Joe Rogan, or it might have been a different interview that he was doing, but they were asking him about Neuralink, and he was just like, you know, you don't even need a microchip in your brain, you're already a zombie. And I just really started thinking about how true that was, because I wake up in the morning and check social media. I mean, now I have like a bit of a morning routine where I try not to check social media immediately. I'll, you know, write in my dream journal first thing, or I'll read a book while having a coffee. Sometimes if I'm being super healthy, I'll have just like lemon water, read a book, or write in my dream journal. But sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes I wake up and I'm tired and I know I should wake up, but I'm not really fully ready to exit the dream space yet. So I might, you know, open my laptop and put on a YouTube video or meditate and then go back into the dream. And, you know, it's just made me realize that sometimes I'm connected to these devices and plugged into these devices 24/7. You know, even my relationship, you know, those of you who've been with me for a while know I'm in a long distance relationship with somebody who lives on the other side of the planet. So, you know, our relationship is conducted through, you know, Facebook Messenger. So, you know, it made me realize how disconnected I have been from my natural physical environment. And also I noticed that ever since 2012 and since I had my Kundalini awakening, it's like, and you know, I'm sure many of you will resonate with this as well. Those of us who've kind of been on this mission for a while and have known that, you know, New Earth is coming and we're kind of, you know, anticipating this great awakening, we have known that it was imminent for a while, like since 2012, which in the grand scheme of human civilization and also, you know, existence of the entire universe or multiverses is nothing. It's the blink of an eye. It's how long, you know, 8 years. It's nothing really, but in human terms, that's kind of a bit of a minute, you know, that's a while. So, you know, when you're waiting for this supposed collective mass awakening to happen, you're constantly checking in to the collective. Now, there's an organic way to tune into the collective, which is by going within. And then there's also the inorganic way, which is by plugging into the devices and checking what's happening, you know, on social media or on the internet. Both of those work. One of them is kind of more effective and has, I mean, not saying that both of them have overlays and both of them have a certain algorithm depending on, you know, what's happening within your light body. So, you know, if your light body has loads of overlays and implants and traumas and things like that, you will see the world and you will also see your inner world in a certain way. And the messages that you get and the divine guidance that you get will be of a certain frequency. And it's exactly the same with the algorithm when you tune into social media. And even when you tune into the physical world will show you back a photocopy of, you know, your thoughts, your beliefs, basically. Your beliefs about the world is what you will experience. So kind of clearing those overlays and transforming your belief systems is really crucial. So where did I want to go with this? I don't know. There were so many things that were coming through. And now that I'm in front of the camera, it's difficult for me to keep them in an order. But yes. Yeah, so anyway, this video was going to be a little bit later. It was going to be like tomorrow, so you're getting it one day early, because I was actually supposed to be working with my mum today, but I woke up this morning not very well. Like, sorry, this incense, whenever I film on this side of the room, the incense always goes in my face, so that's why I love it, but I don't want it in my nose. Yeah, so I woke up this morning a little bit poorly with a little bit of a scratchy throat and, you know, blocked sinuses. So I don't know if it's this Omicron shit that's going around, because I haven't done a test yet. I will probably do one. I know some people gave me a lot of shit, not a lot of shit, but really picked upon the fact when I was sick with that really nasty cold that I had back in October, and I did a couple of lateral flow tests to see if it was COVID or not, and people were just like, why did you do a test? And I was just like, because I wanted to make sure if it was COVID or not. Now, I know that the tests aren't very accurate, but I don't believe that they're completely bullshit. I think that they have a degree of inaccuracy to the point where it's inflated the numbers, or, you know, the numbers aren't completely accurate and trustworthy. And obviously the PCR test, when you run certain numbers of cycles, it can dictate whether you are getting a fraudulently positive result if you kind of run more than like 25 cycles. I think that's what the experts tend to agree. But lateral flow has a high rate of false negatives. So I don't understand why people had an issue with me taking it, but I don't have a problem with taking tests. You know, it's cool if other people have a problem with taking tests or think that other people shouldn't take tests, you know, that's fine. But you've also got to respect other people's sovereignty. If somebody wants to take a test, or if somebody wants to wear a mask, or if somebody wants to get a juice shot, that's on them and that's their free will choice. So allow it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm at the point now where I'm not going, I have some people, supposedly awakened people who I respect and I'm friends with, but I can see that they're still in this, you know, they still need to process their anger at the world, because a lot of their statuses will be like, oh, you idiots getting these tests, or I can't believe you fucking idiots are getting this juice shot and you're still lining up. It's just like, let people do their thing, okay? Like, I know people who have lost a lot of people on both sides, okay? We've lost a lot of people this year. This year's been really, really challenging for a lot of people. I was going to talk about this later, but I'm going to talk about it now. And we've lost people for a number of reasons. Like, I know a lot of people that have lost people from the actual virus, and I know people that have lost people from the juice shots, and I know people that have lost people from suicides, you know, caused by lockdowns and things like that. So it's been tough for everybody, and I spoke about this in, again, a recent Instagram post where I talked about the different frequency bandwidths that you can tune into right now, and different people are operating at the different frequency bandwidths. And one of them is this frequency bandwidth of, I'm awakened, but projecting this external enemy, and this external enemy will either be, and sometimes it flips back and forth between, and but there's levels to this, okay? So hang on, let me try and get my thoughts in a coherent, linear progression. It's quite difficult for me to do that because my brain kind of is more like a flowchart, a mind map, like that, like a spider. It's not linear. But yeah, so I was talking about the whole awakened people who are awakened to the fact that there's like a elite group of people that are pulling the strings and controlling people, okay, the 1%, right? So that's a certain level of awakening that you get to. And then they also project an external enemy, not just on the 1%, but also on sleeping masses who are going along and complying with, you know, the 1%. And I'm not saying that this isn't true, okay? This is reality at a certain frequency bandwidth, okay? There's also an awakened group of people, but who are at a lower level of, slightly lower level of consciousness, because you cannot call these people who are going along with the thing like sleeping sheeple, because like I just don't see it like that anymore, okay? Yes, okay, they're going along with, you know, what authority says, and that, you know, that's caused a lot of the problems that we've seen on the planet for a really long time, like, you know, genocides and all kinds of world wars, you know, when the masses went along with whatever authorities, you know, perpetuated as, you know, the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution. Like, this is a problem, we've got this enemy, whether that enemy is terrorists or a virus or whatever, and then people have the scary reaction, and then they come in like saviors with the solution, right? There is this whole thing has, okay, it's awakened people who were previously at a very low level of consciousness where all they cared about was, you know, getting material things and status and just keeping up with the Joneses, and, you know, their problems just basically revolved around their own personal problems and their own personal dramas in their own lives, like their friend drama or their relationship drama or their work drama, and they never really thought beyond that to the macro cosmic. And awakening out of that band of frequency does involve you acknowledging the macrocosmic, which is when people start getting into like woke culture, you know, like feminism or intersectionality or, you know, all of the geopolitical things. Okay? Now that is a level of consciousness that you must go through on your awakening journey. So for anyone who's still at this point where they think that this collective awakening is not happening, you are projecting onto the collective the part of you that is still yet to awaken, that is still unawakened. I'm going to say that again, okay? Because I want it to really land. If you believe, if you look out there and you see, no, people are not waking up, everybody's just idiots and they're just blind sheep masses, you know, going along with whatever. If you cannot see any evidence of this collective awakening that we're going through, then you are projecting onto the collective the shadow aspect of you that is still yet to awaken, or that is yet unawakened, okay? You still need to wake up a little bit more, okay? Because it is happening. These people are now not so concerned about only material things and just getting ahead and keeping up with the Joneses and their own personal problems. They're starting to awaken to the interconnected nature of the collective hologram and how that your actions affect those around you, okay? Yes, a lot of them are getting into like the wokeness and their pendulum is going to swing extremely far left. Happens with all of us, okay? Happened with me as well. It will come back into the center, okay? And it will come, and you will see yourself. You will see your own reflection when you move past where you're at now. You will start to then see them go through this whole thing where they're like, my freedom and I can do whatever I want and it's all about me and sovereignty. And sovereignty is important, but not whilst you're, you know, participating in actions that are having negative repercussions on other people. So this is the point that we're at now. We're converging, okay? A lot of those polarities are becoming neutralized. A lot of people that were originally buying into the mainstream narrative are now starting to question it, and they're starting to question the fact that they've been lied to by control systems. I can see people on the other side who were very hyper critical and skeptical of the mainstream narrative are now also starting to converge on certain points as well, and starting to recognize that there was some truth into what they were being told. You know, some of the stuff that I heard coming out of the conspiracy camp, you know, when all of this started, and I still hear from people who are just waking up now, is, in my opinion, just nonsense. I'm not going to say what those things are, because, you know, I just don't want to shame people or alienate people. I want people to figure things out for themselves, and also I don't want to project what I think is true onto y'all, because everybody has to figure out the truth for themselves. If I'm an expert on something, then I'll speak on it, but, you know, when it comes to medical stuff, I just don't even want to speak on it. And right now I feel like there are so many people who are much better qualified than me who are now stepping forward and blowing the whistle on what's happening, okay? The disclosure now is being very drip fed at a very, very steady pace, and it is filling up the sink or the bath, okay? So just it's getting to the point where we can now swim in the truth, okay? It's becoming very clear now to be able to connect the dots. And even though the mainstream media is still trying to spin whatever they're spinning, they're becoming more and more irrelevant by the day. And, you know, the alternative media is starting to gain a much more credibility, and people are just starting to become more discerning and starting to think for themselves a little bit more, because this is what happens, okay? Before, it was kind of like these trusted sources. You had these trusted sources. Now, not understanding that the entire architecture of this reality has become completely inverted to the point that we are basically living in a dimension that is closer to the hell realms than it is to the Godhead. We're basically in Satan's playground, okay? All of the ancient texts and, you know, biblical texts will tell you this, but also studying, you know, like sacred geometry and the Fibonacci sequence and Keylontic science will also tell you this, okay, that we live in an inverted reality based on consumption, and it has been very, very difficult to operate within this reality if you are a very God-sourced, Christed individual that does not want to take part in any harvesting or any consuming or any immoral out of integrity behaviors. It's been very difficult for those of us that have been awake to those things to exist in this reality. And, you know, a lot of us have seen, you know, just by sheer observation, that a lot of the people that have been successful in this reality are those that were willing to compromise higher ideals. Okay? A lot of that is being changed now. A lot of that is now starting to dismantle, mainly because of the tireless work of angelic starseeds that have been coming into incarnating into this reality for eons. Like, I don't want to say how long, because I don't know exactly about the timescales, but I know that there are waves of us here who are at this time that now this is starting to shift. We're actually reaching a critical mass, and this is now starting to shift. Now, I've said this before, don't expect this process to happen overnight, okay? It can take 10, 20 years, okay? This is the great work that we're here to do. It's a life's work, okay? And each one of us is playing a very, very small part. You know, right now, I've just seen that New Earth is steadily underway. It is manifesting. I'm already seeing the signs of it. I'm not here to prove it to anybody. You will start to see the signs when you start to believe in the possibility of it being birthed, you know, of this reality being birthed, because you have to tune into the frequency bandwidth. And the way that you do that is through your beliefs, and is by holding the vision of what you are here to create. And we need all types of people on this planet to create the new earth. And it's not like everybody, you know, when you start stepping into your highest timeline and your mission work, that everybody's going to become a healer. Like, it's not going to be like that. Like, I mean, for me, this is what I'm feeling called to do at this time, because I've had to do so much work just on healing my own imbalances and my own distortions, that I then felt compelled to share that work with other people, and help assist other people and get them onto their highest timeline as well, because we need so many of us doing this work. Not specifically this work that I'm doing, but the work that you're here to do. You uniquely, your soul's blueprint is here to do. You need to align with that. So it's going to be different for everybody, okay? My partner is an architect. You know, he's very much needed in New Earth systems. Like, whatever you do, if you feel really compelled that that is what you are here to do, like, you know, so many times I see people kind of going through this kind of what's the word, like a dark night of the soul around mission and purpose. And I definitely went through this as well. You know, those of you who've been following me for a long time will see that I kind of went through this whole thing with, you know, modeling and the fashion industry, and just hating how awful the industry was and what a negative place it was. But when you recognize that everything on this world is kind of messed up and inverted, and we're basically existing within a global Ponzi scheme in which our energy is being harvested from the top, all the systems are inverted. So we need people in all of the systems to change them. You know, you can also argue the same about the financial industry. You know, if you're, you know, working in the financial centers, you know, in finance or something like that, you could very much say, oh, it's all messed up and it's capitalistic and it's a Ponzi scheme and and you know, I want to go away from that, and I want to go live in the forest in a cabin and, you know, build stuff or whatever, like, you know, do breathwork retreats or whatever. That might not be your soul's highest calling. Your soul's highest calling might be to stay in the financial system and help to transition us from the parasitic system of debt slavery that we've been in for a long time to a more sustainable economy that benefits the entire collective, which is what's happening right now. We're seeing a massive restructuring in our financial system, and thank God that there are some awake, conscious people within that system who understand the intricacies of how it works. Because, you know, I've studied a little bit about finances, but I don't know, you know, I don't know enough to kind of be in that industry and fix it. We need people in that industry who are awake to be able to fix it. Same with all the industries. That's why I'm still working as a model, why I'm still working on my clothing line, even though it's been like more than 5 years that I've been working on it, because what I'm trying to birth with my clothing line is something that we haven't seen a lot of on this planet before. It's not going to be the same, you know, infinite growth model and mass overconsumption model that we've seen in the fashion industry, you know, historically. Well, not even historically, but in the last few years. That's not what my clothing line is about. It's going to be a circular economy, upcycled, ethically manufactured. So it is going to take time to set that up. So whatever it is that you're doing and whatever line of work that you're in, if you feel like, if there's something in you that feels like you're supposed to hold on to that, listen to that. And it's the same with, so this client asked me over the holidays what she should do regarding where she's living. So she's kind of in a part of Europe where things are getting really, really intense with the, they're getting very just Nazi-like. Ironically, you know, all of this started in Austria, but she's in a neighbouring country. And they're basically, you know, they've got quarantine camps there, so, and they're talking about arresting unjuiced people, and, you know, the propaganda machine is really ramping up against people who have chosen not to take the intervention, and she's quite scared. And she, you know, she did say, I don't fear death, which, you know, a lot of you know, who are on this path, you know, we've kind of gone beyond that, where we know that death is just a door that you move through. But even if you do fear death, that's okay. Like, I'm not shaming people. That if there's a lot of people who, you know, it's not, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, it's better, you got to transcend your fear of death. You know, it can be helpful to transcend your fear of death because it makes you much more unfuckwittable. I've talked about that before. But for some people, you know, you have dependents and things like that, so it's totally cool if you're like, no, I'm not, it's not my time to die, and I really cannot afford to die right now because I have work on this planet that I need to do, or I have people that I need to take care of here. It's more that she just doesn't want to suffer. The thing is, I can't tell you what you should be doing and whether you should stay in the country that you're in if the restrictions right now are getting really crazy. You've got to tune in to your own body and your own self. Each one of us is placed on different grids, and that's for a very specific person that is unique to your soul's blueprint. So for me, I was placed on the London grid at this time, and, you know, my boyfriend wanted me to come to Bali like months ago, like, you know, at the start of this year. And there was a window in which it was possible, perfectly possible for me to go. And I didn't want to. I wasn't ready to go because nothing to do with our relationship or anything like that. It was just, I felt very compelled to stay here because there were a couple of reasons. Like, we'd been in lockdown for 6 months here in London, and I barely left the house. I'd just done a few like walks to the woods every day. I'd barely left the house. I hadn't really seen anyone other than my mum. And London was opening for the first time. Like, I was just here taking care of some family business. And, you know, as he wanted me to come, and around that time London was opening up and the restrictions were lifting, and, you know, I just wanted to see my friends, and there were loads and loads of marches happening here over the summer, and I just felt very, very compelled to be here at this time and go to those marches. Now, I haven't been to any marches in months, but for me over the summer, I just felt like I needed to be there, because everything that happens in the earth is recorded in the earth, and everything that you do as a soul traversing through the multiverses is recorded in your Akasha. And I felt like, you know, I just tuned into it, and I knew I needed to be here at this time. That me being a part of this movement here, and because, you know, the resistance, you know, against these control systems that have held us, you know, hostage and had enslaved humanity for such a long time. And this is, you know, a cabal that has, it's a dynasty, you know, it's not just like a couple of different politicians. This is like a very ancient evil that has been in control for a long time. The resistance that we were seeing, and the Christ masculine, the Arthurian Christ masculine return started here in the UK, and I could feel it. I was seeing it in my dreams, this emerald frequency. We did this in the activation that I did with Laura Cherry on the live a couple of weeks ago that sadly was lost, but I was seeing the emerald frequencies coursing through the ley lines here in the UK, and they were reaching out to all the sleeping warriors, all the sleeping masculine warriors, and activating the crystalline emerald heart of King Arthur was awakening in all the sleeping warriors here in the UK, and the divine masculine was rising, and I needed to be here to witness that. I went to all the marches, nearly every single one, and what I witnessed there was just, oh my God, it gives me chills. Like, it was so beautiful, just seeing not just the men, but it was primarily seeing the men like really like standing up, and just so you know, just with this fire in their hearts and their eyes, ready to stand up and defend the sacred, like they'd really kind of awoken to their mission and their purpose and their reason for being here, you know. And meeting so many incredible awakened souls here in the UK was just, it was really important for me as well to heal my relationship with these grids, because I've always had a very complicated relationship with the UK. And, you know, I've always, you know, those of you who followed me for many years know that I'm always leaving. Like, I'll always come back here because it's where my family lives, and I have a lot of friends here. I grew up here, went to uni here. But I was always traveling off to Asia, and I was very successful as a model in Asia, and that was what kept me going back to Asia all the time. But at this time, I felt very compelled to stay here. And then around July, I think it was, then the restrictions in Bali came about. So around that time, like, I probably would have wanted to go in like August, September. I wasn't able to. So then I was forced to stay here to do more grid work. And again, I'm glad that I did, because, you know, even though it was difficult being apart from him for so long, and it has been just an insanely long amount of time. I mean, we've been apart, we've done long distance before for like long stretches, but this is the longest now that we've been apart. And it's, you know, we're both very, we're going to be seeing each other, I think, in like a month or two. And I could not be more excited. Like, I'm so happy, so relieved now. We're like, and this is the thing, I really tuned into my body. And even though I did want to go to Bali, I mean, I always have time for Bali. I love Bali. It's so beautiful. I was just experiencing so much resistance about returning to the island at this time with what's going on there right now, that, you know, I was kind of employing all these delay tactics, you know, about getting the paperwork that I needed and stuff like that. I mean, it was, you know, enough that the universe was putting so many obstacles in my path. But, you know, if you believe that you need to be somewhere, then you know, no obstacles are insurmountable. I truly believe. But for me, I really started tuning into it, and I was just like, I'm just not feeling like this is where we need to be right now. And so I had a couple of different conversations with him, you know, planting the seeds and, you know, toying with the idea of maybe going somewhere else. And then one day I was just really straight up with him, and I just said, I don't want to come, and I'm super stressed out about the thought of coming, and I just don't feel like it's the best place for us to be right now. And for me, I wasn't putting my foot down. I was just expressing frustration. I was still willing to come, but I was just being honest that I didn't really want to, and I kind of got fed up at that point. And bless him, like, he's just so amazing. Literally within days, he had started literally within days he had started taking action. So now he has set things up for us to move somewhere else. And, you know, I feel called to keep where that location is to myself for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but I'm just not sharing it right now. But I will reveal, or will be revealed in time, where we're moving to. But yeah, you've got to just tune into your body and the voice of Creator and really sit with yourself. Like if you have Okay, so if you have a meditation practice, that's a really good time to, you know, get really still and start developing a relationship and a dialogue with Creator. But also listening to your body is really, really important. I mean, I just have a constant dialogue with Creator all the time, and I'm constantly tuning into the wisdom of my body and what it's telling me about what I should do. Like, should I go to that party tonight? Do I feel like it? Like, that will tell you whether you're supposed to go or not. If you feel like it, if you can see yourself going, if you're excited about it, then obviously you should go. If you're a bit like, I'm not sure, then it might not be in your highest good. Now, that doesn't mean that something necessarily bad is going to happen if you go, but, you know, sometimes you got to balance certain things. So, you know, like, for example, if I've committed, if I've said that, you know, I'm going to go to a certain thing, then usually I will end up going, even if I feel in my body that I don't really want to go, because for me, it's important that I'm integral with my word and that I honor my commitments. And that's more important to me than just, you know, just doing what I feel like in the moment, because I think that you can go overboard and go too far left with that sometimes as well. So, you know, for me, I feel into my body and I'm just like, yeah, okay, you might not have the best time, but, you know, it's important to show that you're a loyal friend and you're like, you know, can be relied upon when you say that you're going to go to something. So I'm going to go, but I might not stay that late, you know, or something like that. So, you know, just get really clear with yourself. And this is why I tell you to do the embodiment work, you know, like all the embodiment practices that I teach in my course, Reclaim Your Crown, as well as doing things like natural dance, will help you listen to your feelings and listen to your intuition more loudly. Because, you know, if you've got trauma and overlays that cause you to not trust your body, then it's very, very difficult to trust your body. And when you don't trust your body, you start manifesting lower timelines and lower realities, and you start manifesting the kind of life that you don't really want to be living and that you're not happy with. So yes, it is happening, and I think that that's all I want to say at the moment. Like I said, I know that this year has been very, very difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people very, very close to me have lost people and are grieving. So, you know, even though we do have a lot to look forward to collectively in terms of all the changes that are happening on the planet, in terms of our financial system and the technology and the disclosure and our political systems restructuring, there is also going to be like a grieving and a letting go, and especially, you know, letting go of certain people that were not contracted to come with us into the new earth. So, you know, if you're somebody that's been processing grief at this time, my heart goes out to you, and I will pray for you. And yeah, I want you to know that you're not alone, because it's been happening a lot for a lot of people around me, and I've just been trying to hold space as much as I can. And yeah, also, you know, just thinking about, you know, my own family, and obviously my own family made some choices that I don't necessarily agree with, that are a cause of concern to me, you know, regarding their long-term health. So I've been praying for all of them, and hoping that, you know, they ride this through. I know that, you know, there have been a lot of kind of information being spread in the alternative media about, you know, the juice shots being extremely detrimental to human health, and I do think that we are seeing the evidence of that. But I want you to also understand that I don't think that, you know, I think that some of it is fear mongering, and I think that we do have to be mindful that control systems love to feed on our fear, and they're not stupid enough to just feed out fear programs in the mainstream media. They are going to set up ascension traps everywhere. The New Age movement was one of those, you know, psyops that was meant to capture people and, you know, lead them astray. And along your awakening journey, there will be many false light traps and ascension traps. And I do think that there is misinformation that is being spread in the alternative media. So be discerning. I'm not going to say what I believe it to be, because I don't necessarily know. But the whole idea that everybody who's had the juice shot is going to die within the next couple of years, I just don't believe. I trust Creator, and I believe that God is going to intervene with a lot of that. I don't think that we're going to see these kind of mass deaths that people have been predicting. I do think that we are losing a lot of people, but I don't think that we're going to be losing anywhere near the amount of people that some of these people have been fear-mongering about. So that's just my perspective. I think that, just be optimistic about where we're headed. And don't, lose sleep and grieve things that haven't even happened yet and might not happen, because you're only doing yourself a disservice. Try and enjoy this time with your loved ones. If anything, this whole thing has caused me to really reassess, what's important. And for me, spending time with my loved ones as much as I can is extremely important, and it's something that I really want to prioritize. Okay, when it comes to sessions, I'm very busy at the moment. Obviously, I'm moving countries soon, so I've been kind of clearing stuff out, getting ready, and doing last minute paperwork and admin and tax returns, and selling some of my stuff as well. But I do have space for sort of between 2 and 4 clients, depending on the frequency of sessions that you want to do. So if you want to work with me, reach out I always start off with single sessions so we can try each other out, see how we feel, and then I do packages where you can get sessions at a much more reduced price, which I recommend that people who want to progress working with me go for that option. So yes, if you would like to book in with me, then send me a DM on Instagram, and yeah, just be mindful that I'm not checking like 5 times a day like I used to. I will try and check like once a day at the moment, but yeah, if it's urgent, then just bear that in mind. And I will love you and leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year. And even though the actual new year doesn't actually start till spring because of the fucking Gregorian calendar, but yes, happy 2022. And let's prepare for the real new year in spring, which I think is going to see a lot of big changes, and I'm super excited. So love ya and leave ya. One love. Bye.